my channel, and if it's your first time here, welcome. My name's Simone. If it is your first time here, you won't know that this is Micah. You saying hi, Micah?
Hi.
And he is my youngest, and he is 2.5, and we are currently weaning. He doesn't really want to wean, but weaning, yeah. But we've managed to get down to morning and the occasional night feeds. So yeah, so this is, and there's Killer, my eldest. So this is a video about weaning, in particular to do with extended breastfeeding. I know that talking about breastfeeding can cause some people to get upset, or they can make mean comments and things like that. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but I want this to be a safe space for women, particularly if they are extended breastfeeding. If you are a woman here and you're not able to breastfeed, or you can't breastfeed, or you don't want to breastfeed, or maybe your journey's coming to an end and you've not wanted it to come to an end, there's no judgment here. This video is just for informational purposes only, and I don't want anyone to feel like they're judged on what decisions they make. I am a mum of 3, like I said, and I've either been pregnant or breastfeeding for the last almost 10 years. I've breastfed each child up until 2.5, and each journey's been completely different. I will leave a video up above if you want to check that out, about my experiences. I'm also a qualified breastfeeding support worker, and I've got a passion about learning about different cultures, particularly childbirth practices and like postpartum care and things like that. I've not long completed a master's, and I plan on doing a PhD in childbirth practices when this little guy's older. So that's a little bit of introduction. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put timestamps down below, 2 parts of the video, if you're looking for a particular answer. I really wanted to do this in like an organised manner. I've got like my notes and everything, but I have a feeling that I might be all over the place, and I'll be including kind of like my own story while I'm answering the questions. As I was saying, this video is for informational purposes only, so if you're looking for advice, or you are like wanting to breastfeed, or you're struggling, or maybe you are feeling really sad and hormones all over the place, which can happen when you are weaning, I would always suggest you get in touch with a health professional, a lactation consultant, your doctor, midwife. Yeah, so let's get into this video. What I'm trying to do is link some articles down below if you'd like to check them out. I probably will touch on some things, say for example if you are weaning a child under 1, but because I haven't done that, it's kind of a different ball game. So some of the strategies that I use with weaning with my children, it might not work like with a baby. So what I thought I would do is I'm going to try and break it down into talk about hormones after birth, estrogen and progesterone, prolactin and oxytocin, what happens when these fall and how it can impact a mother. If you don't want to stop breastfeeding, stopping earlier than expected, symptoms of stopping breastfeeding, including sadness, anxiety, relief, weight gain. Can weaning cause mood swings? How long will it take to feel normal? How to cope? What to do if you're struggling? And will weaning happen? Because some mums wonder if the child's ever going to want to wean if they are doing like a child-led weaning approach, and also like the less breastfeed and what you may feel. So any amounts of breastfeeding, obviously some women, they're not able to breastfeed, or they might not want to breastfeed, and I feel like motherhood just in general is such an amazing experience, but it can be really, really tough. But if you're breastfeeding, even if it's for a day or a week or a month or years, like hats off to you, because I got when I started breastfeeding, I thought that, well, I'm a woman, I can breastfeed, it's going to be easy. But it is a learnt skill. That's what they taught us when I was training to be a breastfeeding support worker, and getting that support early on, it can make a massive difference. I can't tell you like the 3 different experiences that I've had. Also, if you're here and you're pregnant, I've got a video on how breastfeeding can be impacted by labour interventions as well, if you want to check that out. After birth, you when you're pregnant, you have high levels of estrogen and progesterone, and like, I don't know what you've been like, but when I've been pregnant, particularly in the third trimester, I felt really happy. But as soon as you have the baby, they plummet. But when you start to breastfeed, then a hormone called prolactin and oxytocin, you've probably heard about oxytocin being like the love hormone, it makes you really happy and things like that, they start to rise. So every time you're breastfeeding, the prolactin is signaling your body to make milk, and the oxytocin will make you have like a really fuzzy, happy, loving like feeling. So you can still be really emotional, particularly if you've had like a traumatic birth, or it could be really overwhelming. I would say that with my first, I had a traumatic birth, but with my second and third labours, I had a home birth with my second and a water birth in hospital with my third. I was a lot more, I knew I was more prepared, and the training that I had helped, and it was just, my hormones was a lot more level, I would say. But you know, every woman is different. Some women, even if they're not breastfeeding, they may not like feel down or anything like that. But what can happen is, so like I said, I've not experienced this early on because I've breastfed until each child's been around about 2.5. But if you aren't breastfeeding, then you might feel the, you know, the sadness more. It can be likened to like grief. Just hormones all over the place, anxiety, sadness and things like that. But I'm going to talk about this all later on. So prolactin and oxytocin can start to go down as soon as you stop breastfeeding. So if you just stop cold turkey, you're going to feel it a lot more potentially. Whereas say with me, with my children, around about 6 months I did child-led weaning, like food wise, so it was very gradual. They were still wanting breast milk, pretty much breast milk made up most of the diet for the first year and going into the second year. When I went to see a health visitor about that, I said as long as baby's not losing weight, breast milk, it's always got a nutritional value, and the World Health Organization promotes breastfeeding. It's up to the mother and the child. The benefits of breastfeeding never stop. Prolactin and oxytocin start to drop as you start to wean, and prolactin is what stops ovulation and what stops you from getting your period. So me, because I was breastfeeding still quite a lot when I started weaning, and when my period came back around about 8 months postpartum, I didn't really notice any of the hormonal changes because of the frequency of how much my children were still breastfeeding. The emotions and everything else came later on when we fully stopped breastfeeding. But like I was saying before, if you just stop completely, then you might feel the symptoms straight away. Okay, so these are some of the symptoms that you may get when you stop breastfeeding, like completely. So you might feel engorgement. This may be more prominent if you have stopped completely and not reduced your feeds down. Even if you've been breastfeeding for a long time, you still may feel engorged. I haven't experienced that because it's been like a gradual decrease in breastfeeding that I've had. You might feel like when you have your period, if you I mean, you might not have any symptoms if you have a period, but you know, you might feel a bit all over the place, feel sad, hopeless. Some women, from what I've researched, you can feel like you've got a deep sense of loss and grief and depression, and weight gain as well. I definitely felt sad with my daughter. With my son, I was pregnant when I was weaning him, so I think the pregnancy hormones stopped the prolactin and the oxytocin. Well, actually, sorry, the progesterone and the estrogen would have gone higher, and then I would have been still getting the prolactin and the oxytocin from breastfeeding my son. So I didn't feel that sadness. But when I stopped with my daughter, I can't tell you how sad I felt. I was thinking, what's going on? Because she'd been breastfeeding for about 2.5, and to be honest, I felt like it was time. She wasn't feeding as much, and I was studying and I just felt like it's time. Didn't know if we were going to be having any more children or not, but I didn't want to have that pregnant or breastfeeding, because for the last nearly 10 years I've been pregnant or breastfeeding. But I felt really sad, and I was crying a lot, and it was making me feel just really down. And I would say that it went on for a couple of weeks, but with some women it can be longer than that, because I did read that it can take like 2 to 3 months for your hormones to settle down. You might feel anxiety, irritability, and you could even get insomnia. It can cause low sex drive due to the lower oxytocin levels as well. But on the flip side, you can even feel relieved, especially, you know, breastfeeding, it's not always easy. So you may feel, you know, I'm ready, can't wait to just, you know, have my body back to myself, not having to think about what outfits I'm wearing and whether it's breastfeeding friendly or not. But then with the relief, then you can have the guilt, and especially if you've not wanted to finish when you have, or your babies or child is finished on their own accord, or any type of reason, it can just throw you into feeling grief, and then you can feel guilty. I can't actually believe that I forgot this part about weaning, and that's why I've had to add this in. Why, obviously I'm in a different outfit. I was in the middle of editing and I thought, I can't believe that I never included this, because this is one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video. So, salty breast milk. You might be like, what is salty breast milk? But there's some information here on the, I think you pronounce it Medela website. I'm just going to read this to you anyway, but the information will be up on the screen. So during weaning, the composition of milk changes dramatically, especially after abrupt weaning. Although the secretory capabilities of the breast reduces, the involuntary mammary tissue remains partially functional for a long period, approximately 45 days. From days 1 to 45, the concentration of lactose and potassium decreases, whilst the concentration of sodium, fat and total proteins increase. So it's saying it's salty because the increase in protein content, and then it has these different things in them. So basically, from other articles that I've read as well, it becomes kind of like colostrum, which is, you know, what you first produce when you've had your baby, and so it's got lots of antibodies in and things like that. And when I was doing my training, they said that it can be likened to when you're stopping breastfeeding, it's like the milk changes to give the child an extra like boost, if you will, like of protection. So that is why it can end up being really thick. So if you're expressing, you might notice that it's a lot thicker, or you might even notice that your child might not want to breastfeed anymore, or might come off the breast. So say for example with me, with Caleb, when I was pregnant, he was like pulling his face a little bit, and I was wondering what was going on, and I expressed some milk, and it, like I said, it was thick. And you might think this is gross, but you know, each to their own. But I tasted it because I thought, oh my gosh, is there something wrong with it? And it was super salty. Yeah, so he was having gradually less milk anyway, but I think that with it going salty, it kind of like put him off wanting any more milk. But I know some people, and I've read as well, that some children will just keep drinking through that stage, and then the composition and everything of the milk might change later on. That's when you're pregnant, I mean. But when I've been weaning, like particularly this time with Micah, it's gone thicker again, and so the composition has changed, and it's not, I wouldn't say that it's really putting him off still wanting to breastfeed, but I can definitely tell that there's not as much milk as there was, and it seems like my body is gearing up for like completely stopping because of that change in consistency of the milk. So that is why it ends up, the milk can end up being salty. I just want to say though as well that I have read that some women, if they've got mastitis, they can end up having salty breast milk as well. But obviously mastitis can be accompanied with symptoms such as like flu-like symptoms. There can be like lots of swelling in the breast area, and it'd be really painful. If you're just weaning normally and you're just getting a salty breast milk, then like I said, it can just be a case of the milk composition is changing, ready for you to stop producing milk. Another thing as well, your breast milk may change colour. Some women report that it goes to a yellowy colour. Like colostrum is usually like an orange colour. You know, the like when you first start breastfeeding, if you're able to express. So when you stop breastfeeding, or when you're about to stop breastfeeding, the colour of the milk might change as well. So again, if it's not accompanied by any other like symptoms like swelling, soreness, all that kind of stuff, it can be just a usual like sign that you are weaning. How long to feel normal? So like I was saying, from what I found out, there's no specific time. It can depend on how quickly you wean, the age of the child. So if you're weaning gradually, you might not feel it as much. If the baby is small, you might notice it a lot more. But as I was saying, if you are going to be stopping, it's best to do it gradually. I read that if you drop like no more than 1 to 2 feeds a week, which doesn't sound a lot obviously if you're breastfeeding like 10 times a day or more when your baby's small, but it can be easier if the child is older. So say with my son at the moment, he's having milk in the morning and he's having milk at the night. I'm going to talk about some strategies for like distracting and things like that, but again, this may only work with your child if they're older. If they're a baby, trying to distract them and things like that may not work. Some of the coping strategies, what I'm going to give you, some of the things of what I've done and also what I've found online. So knowing what to expect, so obviously watching this video, doing lots of research, it can really help you beforehand, because I think if you're in the thick of it and you're really upset and you're looking for information, it can help you. But if you know beforehand what to expect, it can just help prepare you. And also if you're thinking about, if obviously there's going to be some instances where you just have to stop breastfeeding, but if you don't have to stop breastfeeding immediately, then obviously if you are weaning slowly and gradually, it may help you. And I do feel, this is just my personal opinion, and I have read some articles, but weaning gradually, it can help the baby or your child, and it can help you, because if you have been breastfeeding, you'll know that, you know, your baby might have that deep attachment to you, and if they're not ready for breastfeeding, they could really get upset and they could cry. And that, you know, when I was saying before about feeling guilty, you can feel really guilty and think is it the best thing that what I'm doing? The amount of times that I've been like, right, no, I'm stopping now, and then like my child's just been really upset, and then I've just not had other strategies to be able to comfort them. So it's always been easy. I mean, if you've been breastfeeding, you might be able to relate to me when I say that, you know, your child's not well, they've hurt themselves, they're tired, all different reasons. You pop them on the boob and it can just calm them down. So it can just be so easy just to do that. So if you are well prepared beforehand, it can just help a lot. So this leads into finding other comforting ways to bond with your child. So it could be getting one of your family members or a dad or someone in the family to be able to help out with the child and to distract them. If you are weaning and they're still going to be having milk, you know, you can still cuddle them with the bottle, but if they've been so used to the breast, they might be like pulling at your top trying to get milk. So if you have someone else who can help you, it can just help, you know, it can really make a big difference. But again, like I was saying, if you're gradually doing it, it might make it easier than just 1 minute you're breastfeeding and then the next you're offering a bottle. And distraction, like the kids, your older kids might be able to help distract them. Physical play, and with me, I just want to give you some of the things that I've done. So distraction definitely is one of the things. If your child is older and they understand, like in the case of my children, I've been able to say to them, we'll have some milk later, or Mummy will get you some milk out of the fridge or something like that, and give them a cup of milk. That can work. I would say, me saying, especially when I wanted to wean during the day, me saying later or distracting, playing, the kids playing, going outside and things like that, it's like, I don't know, obviously every child is different, but as each of my children have got around about the age of 2, they've not wanted milk as much in the daytime. So when they have been asking for it, then I'll give them a drink of water, I'll give them a drink of milk or something like that, and then I'll say, yeah, you can have some tonight. So like I said, at this moment in time with me, I am giving my son milk in the morning, but there are times where I can like, come on, let's go downstairs and get porridge, and he won't ask for the milk. And at night time, I would say that nighttime weaning is a bit more of a struggle, especially if you've been relying on nursing your baby to sleep. I know that some people say that's a bad habit to have, but you know, you can do your own research on it and do what's best for you. But that's just one way that I felt it's easy to be able to get my baby off to sleep. So nighttime weaning is been the more challenging. Waking up in the night, as my children have only slept through the night when they reach around about 2.5. So they have woke up in the middle of the night, but then it gradually goes, and then it's just that night before the feed, before going to sleep, that I've kind of struggled with. But usually a strategy that works for me is if my husband goes and lays down with my son, or if my son's downstairs and then he falls asleep on Ryan, and then he takes him takes him upstairs. Oh yeah, another thing as well is I'll say, oh, no milk now, we'll have some in the morning, and that started to work as well. Another strategy of how to cope is to recognise how far you've come with the breastfeeding. Like we were saying, even if it's only a short period of time, you've breastfed, it's something to feel really proud of, and just, you know, look back on your journey with fondness. It might bring some tears about, but when I look back on the journeys that I've had with the children, it just really makes me happy. Also, I've read that exercising, eating well can really help, and talking about it as well. If you're feeling really sad and down, you know, speak to your partner or speak to a family member, or you could speak to a health professional. And as I was saying before at the beginning of the video, if it's getting on to like a couple of weeks and you're still feeling really down and in despair, then that's when it would be a really good idea to get in touch with a health professional. Yeah, another thing as well is I wrote down Karen Weaning calls mood swings. A website called Very Well said it's common to experience a bout of depression or mood swings even if you did it voluntarily or reluctantly, a short time or even long time. If you don't want to stop, if you aren't wanting to stop, you could speak to a lactation consultant or breastfeeding support organisation. There's also books and articles that look at the deep feelings of women who have breastfed and it didn't go to plan, or they've not wanted to breastfeed. I'm going to try and put resources down below. And will weaning happen? Some women say, are they ever going to wean? It just doesn't seem like they want to stop breastfeeding. And on the La Leche website, it was saying that some mums opt to do childlike weaning with the breastfeeding as well, and wait for the child to decide when they want to breastfeed, when they want to stop breastfeeding. I mean, that could be, I've read of some women, the babies want to stop breastfeeding at like 6 months. Some women it's been 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The ages, it's all different. But obviously it's your journey and you've got to decide what's best for you and your family. The last breastfeed. So I think with some women it might not be significant and they might just be so excited to stop breastfeeding, they may have just had enough. But with some, like with me, it's felt significant. I was reading, it was saying that some women decide to take photographs, and I've done that before. So it's like the end of a pivotal journey. It could be the end of a chapter in your life, especially if you're not going to be having any more children. So I always like to reflect on my journey, and I remember each breastfeeding journey fondly. Yeah, so I think that is gonna be it. I totally lost my train of thought because my battery went on my phone. But as I was saying, yeah, finishing can just be full of emotions, and it's okay to feel those emotions. It's a big, you know, being pregnant, breastfeeding, however long you do it, it's a you know, part of a journey. If it is your last baby, I think this one is going to be my last baby. It's not always easy. It's even if they want to stop breastfeeding, it might not be easy, because you've been doing it for so long and you're moving into another chapter. One thing as well that I forgot to say with the coping is some women like struggle, say like if the baby's crying or to get them to sleep or anything, and obviously, you know, you can use your partner or family member, but some women find holding them still in the nursing position but giving them a snuggle, even older children might want to do that. So, you know, they're still going to need you, and they're still going to want to, you know, come to you, still want you for hugs and stuff, even though they're not coming for milk. And in time, say for example, if they aren't really ready for milk, you know, it feels like they're never going to stop tugging at your top and asking for milk, but eventually they do. But as I was saying, weaning gradually can make a huge difference instead of just stopping abruptly. So if you are able to do that, I would 100% suggest it. I think it'll help you, help your baby, help your body, help your emotions and everything. Just 1 minute, baby. Just got my other daughter here. So I really hope that you liked this video. And if you did and you found it useful, please leave me a comment down below. And if you have any tips for any other mums, if you have any tips for any other women for weaning, to make it easier, even just your journey, I would love it if you would leave me a comment down below. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.